She was left humiliated, heartbroken, abandoned for a richer woman. But instead of crying, she chose revenge. When Michael dumped her to climb the social ladder, Sarah vowed never to be weak again. And she kept that vow by marrying the one man who would burn him to the ground. His father. She didn't just marry up. She became the matriarch of the empire he was born into. Now, he calls her mother. But power comes with a price. Blackmail. Secrets. A kiss that should never have happened. And a baby that could destroy everything. From scandal to supremacy. From shame to queen. Sarah rises. And this time, she's not just playing the game. She's rewriting the rules. Watch the drama. Feel the
They say revenge is best served cold. But mine? I served it dressed in white, wearing his father's last name. I was never the type of girl to dream about fairy tales. I believed in hard work, loyalty, and building a future from scratch with the man I loved, Michael Dubé. We met during university, shared pap and fried fish on street corners, and whispered promises in taxis on our way home. He said we were building an empire. I believed him, like a fool. Until the day he ghosted me. Not a text. Not a call. Nothing. Just silence. Then I saw it, on Instagram. Michael, the same man who once begged me to borrow money so he could register a company, smiling next to a girl who sparkled like a walking credit limit. Zanil Kumalo, daughter of a mining tycoon. The caption: when real men stop playing with little girls and choose legacy. Ring gemstone. I stared at that photo so long my eyes blurred. Legacy? So I was just a phase. He left me because I didn't come from money. Because I didn't have a double-barreled surname or family-owned property in Sandhurst. I was nothing to him. A stepping stone on his climb. But fate has a wicked sense of humor. A month later, I was hired as a project consultant for a property development firm. My first big meeting was with a powerful investor, Mr. Themba Dubé, suave, silver-haired, and worth more than the girl Michael left me for. He had presence. He had power. He had pain behind his eyes, like someone who knew what betrayal tasted like. We hit it off. Business turned into lunch. Lunch turned into weekend getaways. And somewhere between sipping champagne in a private lodge in Limpopo and him telling me how disappointed he was in his selfish, reckless son, I knew. He was Michael's father. And I made a choice. Not just to heal, but to rise in a way Michael could never imagine. 2 months later, he proposed. And I said yes. I didn't do it for love. Not entirely. I did it for every woman who was told she wasn't good enough. I did it for the girl who cried into her pillow when she saw Michael flaunting his new catch. I did it for me. Today, I walk down the aisle of a luxury garden wedding in Dainfern, dressed in satin and power, wearing a diamond so heavy it could anchor a ship. Guests gasp. Cameras flash. But the only face I seek is his. Michael, standing stiff at the back, jaw clenched, Zanil clinging to his arm like a lifeline. His face is pale. His eyes betrayed, shocked, wounded. And I smile. Because the girl he threw away, she didn't just bounce back. She married his father. The wedding was over. But the real show had just begun. The honeymoon photos went viral. Me, lounging in a private villa in Seychelles, draped in gold silk and confidence. Mr. Dubé, my new husband, smiling beside me, blissfully unaware of the storm he'd invited into his home. But I wasn't there for peace. I was there for payback. When we returned to Johannesburg, The Dubai mansion welcomed me with luxury and quiet tension. Michael had moved out just before the wedding. Out of rage? Embarrassment? I didn't know. But I expected the confrontation. It came sooner than I thought. I was in the rose garden, sipping tea from imported china, when I heard hurried footsteps. I looked up. There he was. Michael. No suit. No tie. No arrogant grin. Just a broken man, staring at me like I was a ghost that refused to die. Sarah. I didn't flinch. Michael. You married him, just to spite me? I raised an eyebrow. And if I did? His lips trembled. You think this makes you powerful? No, I said, standing slowly. This makes me invincible. You destroyed me, Michael. And I rebuilt myself with the very foundation you were born on. He stepped closer. He's my father. And you're the ex who thought I wasn't worthy, I replied coldly. Now I sign his checks. I sit at the head of his table. You may carry his name, but I carry his legacy. His hands balled into fists. He'll find out the truth. One day. About us. About your real reason for marrying him. I smirked. Then maybe you should ask yourself, will he be more disappointed in me? I turned to leave. Or in you? That night, at dinner, Mr. Dubé announced something unexpected. I want Sarah to oversee the Dubé Foundation's education fund. She has the heart and the brains for it. Michael was there. Invited last minute. Probably by his stepmother, me. He spilled his wine. Zanil blinked. And I smiled, my hand gently resting on my husband's arm. Later that week, a delivery arrived for me. A single red rose, no card. But I knew. Michael hadn't moved on. In fact, he was just getting started. And I wasn't done either. If he thought marrying his father was the end of the game, he hadn't seen what I was really capable of. Because in this house, power doesn't come from love. It comes from knowing who's really in control. I wasn't looking for trouble. But trouble knew my name. The tension in the Dubé mansion had grown so thick, even the maids walked on eggshells. Michael had started visiting more often. Business meetings with his father, he claimed. But I knew better. He was watching me. Always watching me. One evening, Mr. Dubé was away in Cape Town on an urgent investor summit. I stayed behind, citing a migraine. The truth. I needed a moment to breathe. I lit a vanilla-scented candle, poured a glass of red wine, and curled up on the velvet couch in the study, flipping through pages of a forgotten novel. Then I heard it, a knock. Soft. Hesitant. I opened the door. Michael. He didn't speak. He just walked in slowly, his eyes scanning the room like he'd stepped into a memory. Why are you here? I asked. He didn't answer. I said, I miss you. My breath caught. I miss your laugh, he continued. Your fire. The way you challenged me made me feel alive. I turned away. You should go. I made a mistake, he whispered. Zanil was never it. It's always been you. No, I said, my voice breaking. You made a choice. And I made mine. Silence. He stepped closer. Tell me you don't feel anything. Look me in the eye and say it. I turned, ready to shout, to fight, but instead, I hesitated. His lips were so close. And in that split second, emotions and memories collided, pain, passion, betrayal, heat. I didn't know who leaned in first. But suddenly, we were kissing. Desperate. Furious. Wrong. And it lasted no more than a heartbeat before I shoved him away, breathing hard. No, I snapped. That should never have happened. He stood there, chest rising, eyes wide. But it did. Leave, Michael. Now. He walked to the door, then paused. This isn't over, Sarah. Not by a long shot. When the door closed, I slid to the floor, trembling. What had I just done? I married the father. But the son still had a piece of me I thought I'd buried. Now, that piece was back, and threatening everything I'd built. Because some sins don't stay hidden forever. And that kiss might be the one thing that ruins us all. The kiss should have ended there. A moment of weakness, buried and forgotten. But Michael wasn't done. And now, he had a weapon. 3 days passed. 3 painfully silent days. Mr. Dubé returned from Cape Town, his arms full of gifts, his face warm with love. I played the part, smiled, kissed his cheek, laughed at his jokes, all while guilt sat heavy on my chest like a stone I couldn't lift. But Michael. He looked smug. Too smug. I avoided his gaze every time he came over. Then, on a quiet Thursday evening, a message buzzed on my phone. Unknown number. Still trying to forget it happened. Open the link, sweetheart. You'll want to see this. My hands trembled as I clicked. A photo. Me and Michael. In the study. Mid-kiss. I dropped the phone. My knees nearly gave way. Who took it? There were no cameras in that room. No staff. No one else. Unless Michael. He set me up. That night, he cornered me in the hallway after dinner. I tried to walk past him. He blocked me. Get out of my way. He leaned in close, voice low and poisonous. You made your move. Now it's my turn. You're disgusting. And you're sloppy, he snapped. You think you can parade around as my mother and still carry that fire in your eyes? You don't get to move on like this without consequences. What do you want? I hissed. He smiled. Simple. Divorce my father. Or I'll send that picture to him, and the press. My mouth went dry. You'd ruin your father's life just to spite me. He shrugged. He ruined mine by marrying you. I laughed bitterly. You don't want me. You just want to destroy me. Oh, I want both. That night, I couldn't sleep. I watched Mr. Dubé sleeping peacefully beside me, unaware that his son, his own flesh and blood, was holding a grenade to his marriage. What was I supposed to do? If I told him the truth, it would break him. If I stayed quiet, Michael would control me. But one thing was clear. Michael wanted a war. And he had no idea who he was messing with. Michael thought he had won. But he forgot one thing. I wasn't the same girl he left behind. I didn't sleep that night. How could I? Every second I lay next to Mr. Dubé felt like a lie stitched into silk sheets. The betrayal burned through me like acid, not because of guilt, but because I had allowed Michael to corner me. But I wasn't a victim. Not anymore. So I got up, poured myself a glass of water, and walked into the study, the same room where the kiss happened, and started planning my counterattack. The next day, I paid a quiet visit to Auntie Rose, the housekeeper. She'd been with the Dubé family for 15 years, loyal, observant, and often overlooked. Has Michael been acting strange lately? I asked casually. She raised a brow. That one? Always nosy, always watching. Last week, he was lurking around the study, asked about camera angles. I told him there were none. He looked disappointed. So he had planned it. That kiss was bait. The photo was staged. And I walked straight into it. Good. That meant I could do the same to him. That weekend, I invited Michael over for a private conversation. I told Mr. Dubé I wanted to mend things with his son, be a peacemaker. He was delighted. Michael, of course, came with his usual smug smirk. What changed? He asked, sipping the whiskey I handed him. I thought about what you said. Maybe you're right. Maybe this marriage is a mistake. His eyes lit up. So you're finally ready to leave? I leaned closer. But only if you're ready to make it worth my while. He blinked. What's that supposed to mean? I want a cut of the Dubé family's investment in the new Santan project. 5% under a new trust, in my name. Call it an exit gift. His smirk wavered. You're bluffing. I sipped my drink. Try me. What he didn't know was that the entire conversation was being recorded. The pen on the table. It wasn't just for signing documents. It had a hidden mic. That night, I met with my lawyer and handed over the audio. I had more than enough to expose Michael for coercion and emotional blackmail, and to protect myself from whatever scandal he planned to unleash. I also wrote a letter to Mr. Dubé, sealed, dated, and stored with my lawyer. Just in case things went south. Michael wanted war. Then let's burn the whole battlefield. Because I wasn't stepping down. I was stepping up, with receipts. Some secrets whisper. Others scream. Mine detonated, in the middle of Sunday brunch. The Dubé mansion was dressed in perfection. A long table under the gazebo, delicate white orchids swaying in the breeze, champagne on ice. Mr. Dubé had invited the entire family, including his business partners and 2 prominent journalists, to celebrate the groundbreaking of their latest luxury development in Santan. The air was thick with power and pride. I wore a cream silk dress and a quiet smile, but inside, I was a storm with a plan. Michael arrived late, as always. Confident. Calculating. Wearing a navy blue suit that couldn't hide his arrogance. He winked at me when no one was looking. I didn't flinch. Midway through the meal, Mr. Dubé stood and raised his glass. To new beginnings, to family, and to my wife, the strongest woman I know. Everyone clapped. Everyone but Michael. And then, he stood. I have a toast too, he said, voice sharp, eyes fixed on me. My chest tightened, but I didn't show it. I just want to say, he continued, that sometimes, what looks like strength, is deception. Sometimes, the people we bring into our homes carry more secrets than love. There was a murmur at the table. Mr. Dubé looked confused. Michael reached into his blazer and pulled out his phone. Let me show you. Actually, I interrupted, my voice calm and clear, before you show anything, maybe I should. Everyone turns to me. I pulled out a flash drive and handed it to Saifo, the estate's media guy. Please, play the clip on the outdoor screen. Michael froze. Mr. Dubé raised an eyebrow. What's this? You'll see, I said, gently placing my hand over his. The screen flickered. Then came the audio. Divorce my father. Or I'll send that picture to him, and the press. You'd ruin your father's life just to spite me. He ruined mine by marrying you. You don't want me. You just want to destroy me. Oh, I want both. Gas filled the air. Michael's face turned ghost white. Mr. Dubé stood slowly, rage darkening his features. You threatened my wife, he growled. You blackmailed her. Dad, wait. You humiliated this family. And for what? A childish grudge. He turned to the guests. This is my son. And I am ashamed. Michael opened his mouth, but said nothing. He turned and walked away, no smirk, no words, no power left. Just silence. Later that night, Mr. Dubé sat beside me on the bed. Why didn't you tell me sooner? I hesitated. Because I didn't want to break your heart. He took my hand. You didn't. You protected it. For the first time in weeks, I felt peace. Not because I won, but because I'd finally stopped playing defense. Now, I was in control. Some men accept defeat. Michael. He turned it into obsession. 2 weeks passed since the public exposure. Since Michael was humiliated in front of his father, business partners, and half of Johannesburg's elite. Mr. Dubé cut him off, not just from the family fund, but from his inheritance. His offices were closed. His access revoked. The media moved on. But Michael didn't. It started subtly. A note slipped under my bedroom door. You may have won the battle, but you're still mine. Then the shadowy black car parked outside the mansion at odd hours. Then the text messages from unknown numbers. Does your husband know who you really are? I told Mr. Dubé everything. He tightened security, brought in private guards, and moved our legal team to action. But Michael wasn't trying to fight with law. He was trying to get inside my head. One afternoon, I attended a Dubé Foundation outreach event in Soweto, where we were unveiling a new girl child STEM scholarship. Cameras, applause, speeches. As I stepped off the podium and into the crowd, someone slipped a folded paper into my hand. I opened it. 2 words. I remember. That night, I confronted him. Yes, I went to his condo. I needed this war to end face to face. Michael opened the door like he'd been expecting me. No shirt. Just a bruised ego and twisted love behind his eyes. You've lost everything, I said coldly. What more do you want from me? He stepped forward. You had me. And you left me for money. I made a mistake, he said, voice low. But when I see you now, powerful, untouchable, I burn inside. Not with hate. With hunger. You're sick. No, I'm in love. He leaned in close, too close, and whispered, you may sleep in his bed, wear his ring, but your fire. It was always mine first. I slapped him. Hard. His head jerked sideways, but he smiled. Go ahead. Hit me. Hate me. But you'll never erase me. I stared at him, shaking. You need help. You're not in love, Michael. You're addicted to control. Then I turned and walked out, the slam of the door echoing like thunder behind me. When I got home, Mr. Dubé was waiting. I need to tell you something, he said. What is it? He sighed. Michael's mother, his biological mother, she was just like him. Manipulative. Obsessive. I thought he'd escaped her nature. He looked me in the eyes. But now I'm afraid I married her reflection. The words struck like a blade. Was I really any different from Michael? I used his father to win. I'd lied. Plotted. Fought. Now I wasn't sure if I'd won. Or if I'd simply become part of the madness. They say when you dance with fire, you must be ready for the burn. I thought I was ready. Until I discovered what was buried beneath the flames. The morning after Mr. Dubé's chilling words, I couldn't stop replaying them in my head. I'm afraid I married her reflection. Was that how he saw me now? As a mirror of the woman who broke him? I sat by the window, staring out into the manicured garden, my fingers resting on the diamond-studded ring he gave me. A ring that now felt heavier than before. Michael hadn't just ruined his own reputation. He was trying to taint mine too. And worst of all, he was starting to succeed. Later that day, I met with Mr. Dub's legal advisor, an older woman named Advocate Ndlovu, who had known the family for decades. She invited me for a discreet conversation. "There's something you should know," she said, placing a folder in front of me. "About Michael. About his mother." I hesitated. "Why now?" "Because Mr. Dubé is starting to doubt you. And when powerful men doubt, they destroy." The file revealed more than I was prepared for. Michael's mother, Namsa, was not just manipulative. She had a history of criminal behavior. Fraud. Blackmail. Emotional abuse. She had trapped Mr. Dubé in a bitter legal war over Michael's custody for years before disappearing. But the bombshell? Michael knew all of it. He had accessed sealed court documents and psychiatric records from his mother's past, and yet, he still used the same tactics. He had become the very storm his father had tried to escape. That evening, I sat with Mr. Dubé in the study. "I read the file," I said gently. He nodded slowly. "And now you understand." "I understand him. But I also understand you." He looked up, surprised. "You've carried guilt for decades, trying to fix a broken son with silence and second chances. But Michael doesn't need silence. He needs consequences." His eyes filled with something I hadn't seen in days: trust. "I want to believe in you, Sarah," he said. "Then let me protect what you built. Let me clean the wound, even if it means cutting deep." The next morning, I filed a civil protection order against Michael Dubé. No contact. No visitation. No business involvement. I was done reacting. It was time to finish this. But as I walked out of the courtroom, an envelope was handed to me by an unknown courier. Inside, a single ultrasound image, dated 2 weeks ago, and scribbled across it in untidy handwriting. "Let's see how perfect your world is now. M." Just when I thought the war was over, Michael changed the battlefield. This time, he brought a baby into it. The ultrasound picture trembled in my hand. It wasn't just the image. It was the handwriting, the timing, the calculated cruelty. Michael knew exactly what he was doing. I sat in the back of the car as the driver pulled away from the courthouse. The envelope lay on the seat beside me like a ticking bomb. Was it real? Was it his? And most importantly, was it mine to worry about? That evening, I showed the photo to Mr. Dubé. He stared at it for a long time, his jaw tight, his fingers trembling slightly, a rare crack in his usually stone-cold composure. "You think it's real?" he asked. I hesitated. "I don't know. And if it is?" I met his eyes. "Then Michael's trying to force his way back in using a child." He nodded slowly. "He's more dangerous than I thought." The next day, I tracked down the name on the clinic logo printed faintly on the corner of the ultrasound, Royal Care Women's Center in Rosebank. I walked in as Mrs. Dubé, which, luckily, opened more doors than questions. With a little charm and a discreet envelope slipped to the nurse, I got the truth. Yes, Michael Dubé had accompanied a woman named Angel to the scan. Yes, the baby was his. And yes, the woman was 3 months pregnant. Which meant he got her pregnant while he was still threatening me. I went straight to his condo. He opened the door, grinning like a snake waiting to swallow something whole. "So, you got my gift. You're having a baby?" I asked coldly. He shrugged. Life's full of surprises. You inspired me, the whole married up, power move thing. I figured it was time I built a legacy too. Why send it to me? Because now, Sarah, he leaned in, smug, you'll always be tied to me. No matter how clean you play your cards, I'll be the bloodline that stains your legacy. I slapped him. Again. But he caught my wrist this time, not hard, but with the weight of warning. This isn't about you anymore, he whispered. It's about the empire. And you're not the only queen on this board. I pulled away and walked out without another word. But in my chest, something new stirred. Not fear. Not anger. Resolve. That night, I sat with Mr. Dubé. I need to take over the business full time, I said. He blinked. Why? Because your son is building a power structure of his own. And if we don't tighten ours, he'll destroy everything from the inside out. He stared at me for a long time. Then he nodded. Do whatever it takes. Game on. Let Michael build his legacy. Because I was going to own the empire before he ever touched it. Some women marry into power. Some are born into it. But me? I earn mine, one betrayal at a time. After Michael's baby bombshell, something in me snapped into place. I was done reacting. Done bleeding over people who wouldn't even admit they cut me. It was time to build, not from love, but from legacy. I restructured the Dubé Foundation, merged it with 3 women-owned NGOs, and launched Project Rebirth, a program that gave grants to single mothers, abandoned women, and girls kicked out of school because they got pregnant. It became headline news in less than a week. Mr. Dubé watched with pride, silent, observant, and more in love than ever. He knew I had found my lane. And this time, no one, not even blood, could derail me. Michael, however, was crumbling. Word had gotten out about the blackmail. Investors pulled out of his shady startup. Angel, the mother of his unborn child, sued him for emotional abuse. The Dubé name opened doors. But Michael had lit them all on fire. Then one morning, he showed up at the mansion. Uninvited. Unkempt. Unhinged. Sarah, he pleaded at the gates, please. I lost everything. I stared at him through the iron bars. No, Michael, I said. You threw it all away, the day you chose pride over love, power over decency, and war over peace. Are you going to let me suffer? I'm going to let you grow, I said coldly. Because this time, I'm not cleaning up your mess. And I turned away, just like he once turned away from me. That night, I sat by the fireplace with Mr. Dubé. He took my hand. I married a woman with fire, he said. But I didn't realize she'd become my kingdom's flame. I smiled. You didn't marry a queen. You married the crown. So here's my truth. Yes, I married my ex-boyfriend's father. Yes, I was driven by pain. But in the process, I found myself, and became a woman who could never again be broken by a man. Let them talk. Let them whisper. Because the throne is mine now,